Hi, everybody. It's Jessica Stone at Stansberry Research, and I've got Brian Tycangco on the line from the Philippines. He, of course, is an analyst at the True Wealth Opportunities China franchise. And there's a lot of headlines right now in the news. We know that Hong Kong just passed this law that would make it a crime to mock the Chinese national anthem. Who really benefits if the world is forced to take sides on the Hong Kong question?
Yeah, I mean that's unfortunately going to be a theme that's going to be playing out for the next few months at least. And to tell you the truth, I think nobody is going to really benefit from having to choose sides between China and the U.S. or the West with regards to Hong Kong. I mean, there's really no winners, and Hong Kong is in fact going to be the biggest loser, having its special status taken away by the U.S. only means that Hong Kong is going to lose certain privileges to trade with the U.S. And Hong Kong trades a lot with the U.S. as well, and the U.S. loses a lot as well. I mean, they trade tremendously with Hong Kong, and they have I think 20 to 25 billion dollar a year trade surplus with Hong Kong. If ever there's going to be somebody to benefit from this, I think it's going to be the emerging markets, because they're sort of like the players on the sidelines who are going to benefit because of all the attention, the negative attention that Hong Kong now has, and a lot of the funds are going to slowly creep away from Hong Kong and from China, and they're going to steadily flow into these emerging markets, just like you've seen with the U.S. government-run pension funds.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson's promising these 3 million Hong Kongers that they can come to the UK. There's definitely a perception that countries have to take sides with respect to that. Do you see any economic impact of that decision by Boris Johnson? And more broadly, we don't really seem to be seeing the markets respond along the lines of this question. Obviously, they're concerned about U.S.-China trade tensions, but they've been pretty calm.
What you've been really hearing now from the politicians, the leaders, have been mostly words and not a lot of action. And that's what's giving the market a lot of confidence to continue moving higher. Saying that, we're going to revise the laws to allow 3 million Hong Kongers to work in the UK may sound good politically, but it's going to be almost impossible to make it work. I mean, how can you make 3 million immigrants work in a country that is already struggling through coronavirus? You have high unemployment, and now you're inviting 3 million more people to work there from the outside. I mean, come on, give me a break. That's not going to happen, right?
What about this latest bluster by the U.S. saying, we're going to block Chinese airlines from flying into the United States? What could be the economic impact of that? And have we seen any market reaction from the airlines in particular?
There was a reaction. Chinese listed airlines all tanked, but not by a lot after the announcement. I think it's just initial knee-jerk reaction. I think that totally banning Chinese flights from the US doesn't make sense economically speaking, because China actually accounted for, Chinese tourists in 2018 contributed $36 billion in tourist dollars to the US, the most of any other nation. So saying no to that doesn't make sense, especially now that it's been seen that China's COVID cases have been declining. So for me, it's really mostly political. But now that China's said, okay, we're going to start allowing, they actually just came out with this today. We're now going to start allowing one international flight per country per week. And they didn't exclude the US from that. So there might be a reciprocation from the US pretty soon.
Today, that when we're filming, is the 31st anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre in China. It is a time when people all around the world, particularly in Asia, typically remember the day in a very public way, and in Hong Kong especially. You have been sort of watching the news that's happened over the last 24 hours because you, of course, are in that time zone, and you didn't really observe a lot of conflict, a lot of suppression of protests.
Personally, I think this has a lot to do with what's going on in the US right now, facing all these protests and riots. And having the same thing in Hong Kong, I think they figured maybe we're not going to get a good response. Maybe the authorities right now might have the upper hand in terms of quelling the riots, since that's also been what's happening in the US. You see the authorities, the police, the National Guard out in force trying to quell the riots and the protests. So it just basically doing the same thing in Hong Kong invites the same kind of reaction.
All right, Brian Tycangco, thanks for joining us from Manila, Philippines. Always good to get
You're
your
welcome.
perspective. And if you would like to see much more content just like this, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.